Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Football Manager 2024 experiment. And today we're going to be placing some of the J League teams in the Premier League, the Championship, League One, League Two, and the National League. I've done this based on club reputation versus where the teams are performing now in real life. So in the Premiership we have Cesaro Osaka, Kawasaki Frontale, Yokohama F Marinos, and um, Kashima Antlers. The championship we have Gamba Osaka, Vissel Kobe, um, Nagoya Grampus, and Hiroshima. Uh, and then as you go further down, teams with lower reputation, we're going to be simming into the future to see if they can establish themselves as Premier League clubs. The division's reputation is pretty similar to that of the Championship. So we'll see if they move up and down divisions, how low, how high they can go over the years. And first off, we're going to start by simming 10 years into the future to see how they've got on. So, 10 years into the future, and in the first season, Kashima Antlers were the team to survive out of the four J League clubs placed in the Premiership, although terrible records all round. If we look at transfers from that year, really just there's not a whole lot from the J League clubs. At least not. Actually, Cesaro did spend quite a bit that year. But if you take a look at the following seasons, Kashima then got relegated with the worst Premier League record of all time, beating out Derby. And we don't actually we see Kobe and Cesaro back a couple of years later. Um, and then they're not really appearing that often. Cesaro are back again. Kawasaki Frontale and Osaka are back again. But they're not really doing a whole lot. I mean, they've just been relegated again. So they're kind of our yo-yo teams. If you look back at 23-24, Hiroshima and Gamba Osaka are immediately gone, with Nagoya staying up and Kobe being the highest finishing team. As we see them start to build up, three more J-League teams are relegated, and yeah, there's not really that many teams that are. I mean, there's plenty that are staying in the division and in and around the playoff area, but they're not. It doesn't seem like they're actually staying in one division for a long time. Albeit teams like Kobe are pushing up the league slowly. And in League One, we've got in the first season Urawa Reds won, and from there it's just been yeah. And the teams are just kind of bouncing around the Championship and League One from the looks of things. God, if we look down in League Two from that first year, I mean, Kyoto and Shonan Bellmare, Seigan Tosu, all teams that are immediately in and around the playoff area, with Sapporo being the worst. And then next year they went up, and it's just a case of occasionally a team will drop down into League Two. Uh, but if you look at the panorama, yeah, Yokohama and Niigata both failed to get promoted in the first season. Before, again, Yokohama just not able to get out before they finally do in the fourth year. And yeah, just first off, all of them are out of the National League, a couple in League Two, but probably as you'd expect, they're all bouncing around the Championship and League One. Uh, if I do also have the J1 loaded still, where all the teams I moved out are competing. And you would think that the current Premier League sides would just dominate, but actually, Jubilo Iwata have been winning a lot of titles over the last few years. So if we jump back, Bournemouth, Kidderminster relegated. They're currently in J3. Um, Actually, the J2 teams that are coming up are actually pushing out a lot of the foot, the English teams that got brought over, and then first Premier League club relegated 4 years in with Luton. And you've got Grimsby, Sutton both down there. Um, yeah, it's just a lot of the teams that are in and around there. I don't think we're going to see any clubs in the Asian Champions League, or at least close to. Actually, we had Sheffield United come runner-up one year, but it's just Saudi League clubs. Sadly, doesn't look like any J League clubs have made the cut for well, Europe at all. We're gonna go ahead another 20 years, see if they've managed to sustain themselves, and if not, then I'm not sure whereabouts all the clubs will be. So we're now 20 years into the future, and this is where we left off with Osaka getting relegated. And if you look forward the next couple of years, it's just Tokyo come down, and we see Osaka back again for a year. um, we're not seeing any of these teams surviving, I don't think. Actually, Nagoya Grampus came up and survived for 1 year before getting immediately relegated with an abysmal points total again. Um, Zero nearly survived again. Yeah, we're not really seeing any sort of success from the J League clubs in England. Just take a quick look at the Championship. A lot of administration there, with Nagoya also having that. It's just a lot more bouncing between League One and the Championship for a lot of teams, from what it looks like. Uh, Kashiwa and Kobe going up that season. Actually, Marinos getting relegated. They're backed by the City Group, as far as I'm aware. So, do they have the same owners? Landmarks. Um, yeah, they had new owners since coming to England. But yeah, just a lot of bouncing between the Premier League. Well, Osaka seem to be the one club that are actually going up to the Premier League occasionally. The rest of them are just, they're not doing too well. So if you look back here, have any of them been relegated back out? Actually, Belmari have, and Yokohama were pretty close to going back down. You have, after that, no more teams. Have Belmari come back up? Yeah, Shinano just got promoted this season. Um, Look in the National League. Is there any teams currently in there? Hiroshima are. Have they ever dropped out? Nah, they just got relegated from League 2 in the most recent season. Yeah, we had no teams drop below the National League, and they're just floating between the top of League 2 and the bottom, well, top end of the Championship really. So far, look at the FA Cup. Have there been any winners? I just kind of want to see them to get into Europe, to be honest. Yeah, FA Cup, there's been no Japanese finalists. Carabao Cup. Fuck. Once again, we're just looking at absolutely no. Well, none of the clubs we moved over get in it. Look at the Premier Division for, well, whoever's just gone up. We've got Cesaro back again. Um, we'll take a look now, just 40 years into the future, to see if anything's changed. So we're now 40 years into the future and taking a look at the most recent table. Osaka have actually managed to stay up, and so have FC Tokyo. Look at them. How long have they been here? Oh, this is their first year. They actually pulled off a pretty good finish in 10th. Oh, second year, sorry. So they got promoted, stayed up, and they have stayed in the Premier League, pushing up a bit. Osaka have also come back up now and managed to actually stay in the league. That's really unlucky that Villa have done them one over, or they'd be in Europe next season. If we're looking over the last 20 years, there's not a whole lot of clubs from Japan managing to stay in the league at all, really. It's not that I've seen when I looked through earlier. In the championship, got a lot of couple J1 teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I can see. So know where 7 out of 18 teams are, which means the rest of them are kind of bouncing around here a bit. As you can see, quite a lot of J1 teams. There's another, wanna say, 5 teams there. Then League 2, Kashima, Hokkaido Sapporo, and yeah, I'm not really seeing that many teams in there. Does that mean they've dropped down further? Yeah, we've got Gamba Osaka there, Yokohama, both in that league. There's one team that I know dropped out, so if you look back a few seasons ago, where was it? Yeah, Hiroshima actually got relegated from the National League, out of the game. So they've been hanging around the Vanarama South for a while now. No idea why it placed them in the Vanarama South, and we've also got Fukuoka in the National League that I missed earlier. So there's not been a whole lot of success the past 20 years, or generally. No finalists in here have ever been from Japan. If you look at the Carabao Cup, it's a similar story. No finalists ever coming from that region. One thing I do want to take a look at is the J1, which it's just Jubilo Iwata for most of the last 20 years. A lot of the last 40. Shimizu Pools also in there. Although Sutton, Forest Green, and Grimsby, as well as one for Fleetwood, are quite unlikely winners of the J1 League. Are we missing any big teams? Yeah, Luton and Sheffield. Oh, sorry, Sheffield United are there, but where are Luton? They down in J2. Yeah, they're in J2 League. If you look at their history, they're just bouncing about mid-table roughly. Look at the Asian Champions League just to leave off. We've got yeah, the only finalists or semi-finalists have been current J2 teams, as well as actually one for Grimsby there, and Fleetwood. Okay, so in 40 years, 2 English teams have made the Asian Champions League semi-final, never winning it. So kind of a pretty underwhelming experiment, but there's a fairly big one coming up on Wednesday that I've been working on the database for. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you then.